Hello, hello, hello. How's everyone doing? Another week, another episode. This is Stats Over Politics. As always, I'm your host, Shaun Holko, alongside my guy, Mr. Kevin Dent. And the podfather, Mr. Jaevon Toddy, should be joining us sooner rather than later, as we're back for another episode, number 159. We just saw a great Monday night football game that all of us here on Stats Over Politics had wrong, as the Lions go into Baltimore and beat the Ravens. And some of you were not shocked by it. For the four of us, including Kaz, Jaevon, and Kevin, we all were dead wrong on that one. And so credit to Detroit. But Kevin, how are we doing this week?
I'm not doing well, Shaun. I'm not doing well. Up until about 8:09 exactly. That's when I took the screenshot. 99% to 1 to win my fantasy league. Me and Shaun were talking about it beforehand. We're both in 4 leagues. This was going to be my first weekend going 4-0. And David Montgomery runs. He breaks off 2 60-yard runs, 1 touchdown, 1 not, and Kevin loses by 1 point. So it's devastating. Shaun and I were saying it. You know, once you see that everybody's on in a game pick, your stomach kind of turns a little bit. You're like, okay, maybe we're all either like Shaun said before, like it was like Giants, Chiefs, okay. But it's like 2 really good teams and everyone's on one side of the coin. It's just like, damn, this could go the other way, but we're all gonna really hope not.
Yeah, exactly. You nailed it there. And when you put out the picks every Thursday, Sunday, and Monday, I repost it on my Instagram story on my professional journalism account. And I started to change things up. Like when at least one of us picks another team, I'll just put who wins tonight and I'll put a poll, list both teams. But what I started doing this year is when we all pick a team, I say so-and-so will pull off the upset, fact or cap. And I got to give credit to 2 people who voted. I checked this. They voted before the game started. Shaun Goldston, who is a girls basketball coach out in Woodland at Pioneer, and Tony Benitez, who is a boys soccer coach out at Somerville in Tuolumne County. They both voted before the game with a thumbs up. Yes, Detroit will pull off the upset. And also shout out to Khalil, who has been on the podcast before. But Khalil, you got your vote in after the deadline, so I can't give you credit for that one. But shout out to Shaun, shout out to Tony for getting that right, because the 4 of us got it absolutely dead wrong. And it's really unfortunate for Kevin the way that the fantasy week swung for him and how he was unable to go 4-0. But luckily for one of us on this panel, and we were talking about this in the pre-show meeting, I got blessed on the other side of the coin, where going into tonight on one of my matchups in a league that I was 0-2 in, I had a 1% chance to win with Mark Andrews to play. And luckily it was Mark Andrews' first touchdown that ended up winning me that matchup and swinging it completely my way. And then the touchdown late in today's game ended up just being the cherry on top. Man, if it came down to that garbage time score from Mark Andrews for me to win, I would have gone even more nuts, but I was definitely celebrating early. And so after going 1-3 collectively, each of my first 2 weeks of fantasy this year, I had a 4-0 week. I'm very happy. But also, as we were talking about, Kevin, shout out to my girlfriend, Allie, because she has beat me in our FanDuel fantasy matchups. And back-to-back weeks, I'm now 1-2 against her on the season. And so we all got to take an L at some point. I'm glad that she was able to be the one to give me that L this week. And I went 4-0 in my season-long leagues. And so I'm quite happy about that. As we keep things moving here on episode 159 of Stats Over Politics, Shaun Holko alongside Kevin Dent. Kevin Jamal Dent is what we were joking about earlier in our Stats Over Politics fantasy group chat. I know it's James, but that was pretty funny. And before we get going, Kevin, and we dive into the game that we just saw on Monday Night Football, I wanted to get a couple of comments here from YouTube, as Gray Wolf tapping in from Kaz's channel said, "What's good, peeps? I hope you're all having a wonderful evening. We appreciate that." He says, "I'm sick to my stomach. This week was a disaster. My fantasy lineup sold me." Shout out Kelsey, James Conner, Chuba, McManus, and Boswell. Man, that is tough. Absolutely tough. And I believe That's 2 kickers at the end there for and so must have been happening in multiple leagues for him, and that's really unfortunate. And prayers up for James Conner, who is gonna have I believe it was a season-ending ankle injury. And so I was there at Levi Stadium yesterday, and it's really unfortunate because multiple injuries happened at Levi Stadium yesterday as the 49ers beat the Cardinals. We will get to that in a bit. But before we get into the Monday Night Football game, Smooth says, bang, bang, Niner gang. We appreciate you, Smooth, for tapping in. So, Kevin, let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into it and talk about the game that we just saw as the Lions beat the Ravens 38-30 on Monday Night Football in Baltimore. 2 teams that are arguably Super Bowl contenders this season. Each started the season 1-1. Each lost their opener. And they come into this juggernaut Monday Night Football matchup. I mean, what a polar contrast this Monday Night Football game was compared to what we had for Sunday Night Football last night. I was coming back on an Amtrak train last night, had nothing but time to kill, and I had zero interest in watching that Sunday Night Football game last night. The only thing that interested me about that game was the fact that Rio Linda and Sacramento State alumnus Cam Scattaboo was playing in that game. And in Cam Scattaboo, he is emerging. Unfortunately for Cam, I didn't tune into the game at all. I just saw some highlights. I decided to spend my time otherwise, but I had no interest in watching that game. Tonight's Monday Night Football game, though, like this is the type of game where you get your popcorn, and it was just like last week's Chiefs and Eagles matchup, or even Eagles and Rams. And so a great matchup on Monday Night Football. The Lions end up prevailing 38-30. Kevin, what was your reaction to this one?
If you would have told me week 1 after seeing the Lions put up 13 points against the Packers, you hear it all offseason, 8 new coaches, 2 new coordinators, what are the Lions going to be? They got absolutely manhandled against a Micah Parsons playing minimal snaps and a Packers defense. 2 weeks from there, 52 points, 38 points. Yes, it's against the Chicago Bears, so you take that with a grain of salt, but to come in on Monday Night Football in Baltimore on the road, nobody picked them. Nobody on Stats Over Politics, nobody on the ESPN pregame show, nobody thought they were going to be able to leave Baltimore with the W. And they hang up 38 points to beat them 38-30. This was a classic Dan Campbell game. Every 4th down, doesn't matter where it is, they're going to go for it. They're going to line it up, and they're going to call a trick play. We were able to see them really show reminiscences of Ben Johnson's offense. You got to see Amon-Ra St. Brown over and over. First down. Sam Laporta, first down. And this running game absolutely destroyed the Ravens. 4 touchdowns. David Montgomery went for 151 yards and Gibbs went for 67. They both had 2 touchdowns. This defense showed up. They had before we get on the defense, we can talk about the offense. They had a 98-yard drive for 11 minutes. They went 98 yards and scored a touchdown on this Ravens defense. This Ravens defense had no break from start to finish, and it showed. The way to beat Lamar Jackson is to keep him on the sideline. And I know a lot of Lamar Jackson fans are sleeping with a smile on their face because they're going to be able to say, Kevin, it was not Lamar Jackson's fault this time. You're right. It wasn't. No turnovers. Derrick Henry, I don't know what you've been doing. 3 games, 3 fumbles, 3 crucial fumbles. Luckily, they were able to win one of those games, but now they're 1-2. And those fumbles come at critical times in the game. And if he doesn't fumble, what does the game turn out to be? Do they score all those possessions? Do they not? As a Ravens fan, I know they're sleeping with a smile on their face because of the performance their team put out. They didn't win, but Mark Andrews became Mark Andrews again. We were having big concerns about Mark Andrews, and Isaiah likely comes back in the next couple of weeks. We thought Mark Andrews was going to kind of just take a back seat, but he was able to turn back the clock. Yes, I get it. The last touchdown was in garbage time, so it didn't really matter. But this team, man, the Lions has been known for having a young defense, and this defense got after Lamar Jackson, sacking him 6 times. He hasn't been sacked 6 times since 2021 versus the Steelers. So this defense was all over the place. It came down, in my mind, this game came down to a 4th and 3. The Derrick Henry busts a big run. They handed off 3 times, and they couldn't get in. And they do a rollout pass for Lamar Jackson. He fumbles, picks it up, and it's an 18-yard loss. I get it. You wanna show confidence in your team. You just ran the ball 3 times to get 2 yards, and you couldn't get it. You have to, at some point, look in the mirror and say, let's take the points. Let's put trust in our defense, and let's take the points. Because if they get those, it's a whole different game. You're down 5 instead of being down 8. They get that 2-point conversion, it's a 3-point game. You know, maybe they don't score. Maybe they don't. But you giving them the ball back and you lost 18 yards after going for it, it's kind of just like, fuck. Like, you're just beating yourself at this point. And like I said, the fumbles are abysmal. Derrick Henry has to be better. This team has aspirations of winning a Super Bowl. It's not going to be behind Derrick Henry playing like this. So the Ravens have a lot of things to fix. The good part about this is it's only week 3, so it's really early. They get a chance to really fix some things. Joe Burrow's not playing. The Browns are the Browns, so they're going to, of course, win their division. But in the long scheme of things, when you lose to teams like the Lions, you lose to teams like the Bills, if you want to get to that Super Bowl, those are 2 teams that you probably have to go through. So the Ravens, take their licks early, and they have to figure out a way to bounce back.
Yeah, exactly. And when it comes to Derrick Henry, I mean, it's really unfortunate because I'm a big Derrick Henry fan. I'm one of his biggest advocates at this point, as far as saying that, like, he still got it. He may be in his early 30s, but he's still that dude. Like, he is still elite, but he hasn't been able to hold on to the ball. And that's the most unfortunate thing, is that that's what's overshadowing everything. His production has been great so far this season, but that is the one thing that is just hanging over him like a dark cloud. And after he fumbled in tonight's game, we saw him basically crash out on the sideline when he was throwing his helmet out. Yeah, exactly. And he like quite literally crashed out as he kind of like stumbled and fell back onto the bench. And when you look at the NFL this season, there are only 2 players in the league with at least 3 fumbles this season. Obviously, we know it's Derrick Henry because he's had 1 in each of their first 3 games. The other one is J.J. McCarthy. And so that's not a great category to find yourself in. And as you said, Mark Andrews, he showed up in tonight's game with those 6 receptions, 91 yards, 2 touchdowns. And so it wasn't his fault. Lamar Jackson wasn't his fault either. Lamar finished 21-27 for 288 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. The craziest stat for me when it comes to Lamar is that in his Monday Night Football career, he has thrown 25 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. A lot of times we talk about with Lamar, I know you've talked in previous weeks about Lamar and his turnovers, but on Monday nights, when the lights are the brightest, he does not throw an interception. He may have had a fumble here and there throughout his career on Monday nights, but he does not throw an interception on Monday night. At least he hasn't so far. And the craziest stat about the Ravens is right now they lead the league in points per game with 37, but yet they find themselves at 1-2, last in the AFC North. And so it's really unfortunate from the Baltimore side of things. But when you look at it from the Detroit perspective, it's quite good. You look at it with Sonic and Knuckles, David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs. They have both scored in 13 of 29 games as a duo. That's about as dynamic of a duo as you can get. Then you look at David Montgomery tonight. As you mentioned earlier, Kevin, he had those 12 rushes for 151 yards, 2 touchdowns. Craziest part about that is that those are the best numbers he's ever had in a game, according to StatMuse. And the final thing that I want to throw out there is Jahmyr Gibbs with his 27 touches for 99 all-purpose yards and 2 touchdowns. He's only trailing one guy with 2+ touchdown games since he was drafted. Kevin, this isn't Shaun's pop quiz because Toddy's not here to participate, but any guesses the one player who has more multiple touchdown games in their career since Jahmyr Gibbs was drafted like 2-3 years ago?
I'm willing to guess he plays in San Francisco. And he's never
No.
Oh, he's not Christian McCaffrey.
No, he's over your left shoulder.
Saquon Barkley. Okay, I'll never guess that.
Yes,
okay.
sir. Yeah, Saquon Barkley, according to StatMuse. And so that's the conversation that Jahmyr Gibbs has put himself in. And he's doing it with David Montgomery contributing a lot. And they have proven how they are truly the best running back duo in the NFL, and the numbers don't lie. This is stats over politics. The numbers do not lie. They back them up when it comes to that duo. And so the Lions get a big win on Monday night. As you said, Kevin, when it came to the Lions after that loss in Green Bay, it looked like, are they the same old Lions? Are they really missing Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn? Apparently, they're the same old Lions, and that's a good thing nowadays. When people used to say they're the same old Lions, it had a negative connotation to it. But now, the same old Lions is a positive thing. And before we move on to the 49ers and Cardinals game, now joining us is none other than the Podfather, Mr. Jaevon Toddy. Flexing for the world to see. How you doing, Podfather?
What a Ravens game that was. Is Derrick Henry washed?
No, he's not washed.
The Ravens will be the Ravens at the end of the day.
I don't think. Well, Kevin's he's gonna take a look at it from the Eagles' perspective. Well, we fucking blitzed them motherfuckers last year, so whatever.
I haven't even said it, Tony, so I appreciate you coming in here with that energy because I was being nice. You can ask Shaun.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the whole line looked. Lamar got sacked like 6 times in this game, so I mean, he was kind of running for his life. Derrick Henry didn't help fumbling the ball. They tried to get Andrews involved early on. You saw that in the game. DeAndre Hopkins was making plays. I mean, the defense is not good. It's weird because when the Ravens, like in the offseason, you re-sign Kyle Hamilton. You try to go get a guy in Jair Alexander to make that defensive backfield 7 times. Thank you. Appreciate that, Greg. You try to go out and make the defensive backfield better. The D-line was getting pushed around. I mean, the Lions' O-line, like, they rushed for over 200 yards in this game. Montgomery was running around. Jahmyr Gibbs was running around doing whatever they wanted. Not to mention Amon-Ra St. Brown is top 5 wide receiver who was making plays left and right. Dan Campbell is steadily, still to this day, going to go for it on virtually every 4th down that he can. As much as aggressive as he is, I think we have to give him credit. This Ravens team was, before the season started, they were like up there to come out of the AFC as far as being favored. So, I mean, this is a huge win for the Lions, especially that first game in Green Bay. A lot of nerves going on. First game without Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. So you're like, oh my God, the coordinator, blah, blah, blah. This was a statement game to show people that, hey, the Dan Campbell way, quote unquote, we still got Amon-Ra St. Brown, we still got James Williams, we still got Jared Goff, we still got David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, these guys didn't just run away. Like, they still have dudes on their team. So, and Aiden Hutchinson let it be known that he is one of the premier pass rushers in this league for the whole world to see. So, I mean, this game as a whole was just it was a very hyped up game. It's supposed to be one of the better games of the weekend. So, I do know that a lot of people lost money tonight. A lot of people were on the Ravens. Vegas needed and was hoping and praying that the Lions would win. And they got what they asked for. So hats off to the Lions. Lions are going to be a tough out again in the NFC. They're not just going to lay down because they still have a lot of dudes on their team.
They sure do. And speaking of another team that still has a lot of dudes on their team, San Francisco 49ers prevailed against the Arizona Cardinals. 16-15.
Wasn't somebody at this game? Somebody on the show?
Yes. That was me. Yes, it's pretty awesome. That's how Allie and I celebrated 8 months of being together, and it was pretty great. And I'm grateful that we got to go together. So yeah, I was there live at Levi Stadium yesterday in Santa Clara to watch the 49ers eke out a 16-15 win against the Cardinals, but it wasn't all good news. As Kevin and I talked about earlier, James Conner had a season-ending ankle injury for the Cardinals, and for the 49ers, they had a significant loss as well, as star edge rusher Nick Bosa is out for the season with a torn right ACL. He had torn his ACL and meniscus in his left knee back in 2020. And this same knee that he just tore his ACL in the right knee, he partially tore his ACL in high school back in 2015. And so
wasn't on the injury report.
No, yeah, no, not at all. And coming out of the game, even though Nick Bosa was shown on the Fox broadcast looking up at friends or family in the stands, he wasn't looking at me, but he was looking up at friends or family in the stands, and he's just shaking his head, and then he gave a big thumbs down. And when I saw that clip on social media, I thought to myself, like, yeah, Toddy, my heart was broken. But when I saw that clip on social media, I thought, like, okay, he's not only out today, is he out for a couple weeks? No, like I did not think it was as severe as it ended up turning out to be. Even Adam Schefter was tweeting earlier today on Monday, and here we are back on our regularly scheduled Mondays. But Schefter was tweeting this morning that it seemed optimistic for Nick Bosa, that he hadn't hurt his knee as bad as we initially thought. But just because it's a clean tear and there's no ligaments still hanging around there, like he tore that ACL right off the bone, now Nick Bosa is going to be out for the entire 2025 season. And Toddy, I don't really know what to say as a 49ers fan because, like, on one hand, I'm so happy that they're 3-0. They're first place in the NFC West. An NFC West where all four teams have winning records. The 49ers are at the top of that division, which seems to be stacked this year. But yet, George Kittle goes on IR with a hamstring injury after 1+ quarter. Hopefully, he'll be back around week 5, week 6.
Really,
Brock Purdy. The one drive, he scores a touchdown, and then just all went downhill from there for Kittle. And Brock Purdy, not only does he hurt his shoulder, but he also hurts his toe, and that has put him out for the last 2 games. Hopefully Brock Purdy can return in week 4 because good old McCorkle Jones, he also is dealing with a nagging injury. And so for the 49ers, man, it like I kept saying last year how the 2024 season, and that's not to mention the fact that Brandon Ayuk is still out. He hasn't returned yet from his torn ACL. But last year, I just kept saying it feels like 2020 all over again. It just feels like deja vu. And now here we are, Jaevon, for a second consecutive season where the 49ers are extremely hurt again. And I saw a stat from Clutch Points today that I wanted to mention before I get your thoughts on this, Jaevon, is in 2018, the 49ers were the 4th most injured team in the NFL. 2019, 6th most injured. In 2020, they were the most injured team in the NFL. 2021, the 3rd most. 2022, the 9th most. And once again, in 2024, they were the most injured team in the NFL. So that kind of hits the nail on the head as far as what I was saying last year with the deja vu from 2020 to 2024. And now in 2025, I don't know what the official statistic is, but I feel confident in saying that the 49ers are one of the most injured teams in the NFL already in 2025. And so luckily for Kittle and Purdy, they still have the chance to come back this season, unlike Nick Bosa. And so this feels like rock bottom, Jaevon. But yet, it's Victory Monday. The 49ers are 3-0, and they actually have a competent kicker in Eddie Pinheiro, which, Lord, I'm so grateful for. But what was your reaction to all of this, Jaevon? Like the fact that the 49ers got a 1-point division win at home to be in first place at 3-0, but then also losing arguably one of their best players for the year.
It's like the Thanos Avengers meme. What did it cost? Everything to get to 3-0. Shaun already mentioned George Kittle's out. It is Brandon Ayuk, who's already been out with – he tore everything that you could possibly tear on his knee. He's been out. Purdy's out. He's gone. Shaun did not mention CJ West, rookie, our rookie D tackle, broke his thumb yesterday. So he's going to be out. And obviously the Nick Bosa injury, which is devastating. And you saw Trent Williams at the podium last night after the game. You need like 3 or 4 people to replace Nick Bosa. And I'm not even going to sit here in front and act like there's anybody, although I did mention in the group chat that Michael Williams is going to turn into Alden Smith.
Not only Michael, he said Bryce Huff, ladies and gentlemen. He said Bryce Huff is going to put on the cape and save the day.
I am not going to sit here and lie to you guys. You can't replace Nick Bosa. There's no, I don't know, unless you go out and get Max Crosby or Aaron Donald's coming out of retirement. There's no way you can replace this guy. And it sucks because this is not the same knee that he tore a few years ago. This is a different knee. So that's a whole nother beast in itself. I mean, it's just devastating you come from the way that the game was yesterday and all the emotions to get to the game a little bit. Usually all the Cardinals games are dogfights, very low scoring. Saleh was dialing up just shit out of his ass. I thought the Kyler Murray safety should have been a safety, but I guess the ball was out of the end zone like by the hair on his chin. And the crazy part is the Cardinals ended up getting safety, and we had to punt the ball back to the Cardinals after they went up. They went up 2 points. And I do want to give a shout out to Upton Stout, who had an insane, like, game-changing pass breakup that basically made the Cardinals punt the ball back to us, so we were able to get the ball. Mac Jones, legacy drive yesterday. Drove the length of the field, Kev. We were all the way down to 20, and Mac put a hell of a drive together. Would also like to mention that Kevin said that Ricky Pearsall cannot be a wide receiver 1, and he has 2 games with over 100 yards. We've only played 3 games. So, and he's also on pace for 1,000 yards this year. Just want to point that out. Ricky went 8 for 117 yesterday. So he's just a guy that will eventually find the end zone, but he's going to be a problem for a lot of DBs for weeks to come. I do think this defense is night and day with Robert Saleh, a totally different defense. Coming from Nick Sorensen last year, it is just a breath of fresh air when you have a guy. I did hear something that all great teams usually have 2 head coaches on their roster. You got the head coach and Kyle Shanahan, who's basically in charge of the offense. You got Robert Saleh, who's basically the head coach of the defense, and they make things happen, man. When they're together, beautiful things happen. I do understand the injury is bringing upon a yet gloomy Monday, but if you look up over the hill, the Niners are 3-0, guys. One of the 6 unbeaten teams left in the NFL, and they got the Jags coming to town. Demarcus Robinson coming back off of a suspension should get some help in the wide receiver department. Jawan Jennings is considered day-to-day. He is looking on the up and up to be playing, and hopefully Brock Purdy's going to be practicing this coming up week. So we're going to start to get our offense back a little bit. Hopefully. Oh, and by the way, after everything that has been going on, all the injuries, all this and that, the guy who is healthy is Christian McCaffrey. How crazy is that? He's the one that's healthy, ready to go. So, Niners are 3-0, but we did lose our best edge rusher, a former defensive player of the year. So we gotta figure it out. I know Saul is gonna. I saw people saying we should go out and get this guy. I saw Trey Hendrickson out there. That doesn't make any sense for us because Trey Hendrickson just got paid, and Nick Bosa, who obviously is hurt, we're still paying him $40 million. So I just want to know where this money is going to come from for us to go out and trade for a guy in Trey Hendrickson. We would have to go get a guy who's on the last, like a young guy who's on like the last part of his rookie deal, or go get an older vet who's on like an expiring. That's what would make sense. But John Lynch, never phases to surprise me and things that he's going to be aggressive and try to make this team as best as possible. But I do see the Niners trying to go out and get an edge rusher before the trade deadline.
That would make the most sense. I've seen people throwing around Trey Hendrickson, and I'm like, I don't think the Bengals will trade Trey Hendrickson right now after they finally got him to agree to a contract.
They're like, y'all gonna pay his contract?
Yeah, I mean, they were presenting him with bullshit for so long, and so he finally agreed to something after they were trying to finesse him for so long. But Max Crosby is a pipe dream. I think I don't know if Pete Carroll would. I know he's not the GM, but he has a lot of influence in that Las Vegas organization. And so I don't know if Pete Carroll could bring himself to stomach trading Max Crosby to the 49ers, even if the 49ers gave up a haul, just like the Eagles offered a haul for Micah Parsons, and Jerry Jones was like, absolutely not. They might have the best offer on the table. Can't do it. Can't trade. Versus you have a team like the Giants who just let their top player walk
down the street.
Yeah.
Cruising down the street in my 6'4".
Yeah. So speaking about cruising down the street, Kevin, just what did you think about this 49ers game, but also the loss of Nick Bosa? I don't think it's a laughing matter. I know you were just trolling, but we'll have to wait to debut the new AJ Brown meme. But overall, from obviously we just heard the biased perspective from two 49ers fans, but just what was your reaction to the 49ers not only moving to 3-0 on a game-winning field goal, which I never thought I would have said that sentence 2 weeks ago, to also the fact that Nick Bosa, one of their best players, is out for the season. And now the 49ers have to rely on a former Eagle in Bryce Huff.
I'm happy for you guys. You guys have beat 3 teams that stink. I mean, you guys week in and week out, the group chat, I'm relieved. Oh my gosh. It's kind of like you guys don't think you're going to win these games. Not only do you have the easiest schedule in football, but you're winning these games by 3 points, 2 points, 4 points, 5 points, 1 point. And it's like, this is the easiest schedule in football. And every Monday we come on here and we guys are screaming from the rooftops. These are games you guys should beat the shit out of them. You guys should be winning games by 30, 20 points. The Saints are going to have a top 5 pick. The Cardinals are going to have a top 10 pick. The Seahawks, are on the tipping scale, I guess. They could be good. They could be not. We're just waiting for Sam Darnold to turn back into a frog at some point. But these are games that you guys are scraping by. And I get it. A win is a win. But it's like when you play 3 non-playoff teams and you win, like I said, by 5 points, by 4 points, by 1 point, at some point, you guys aren't going to be able to pull out these late heroic games. And I'm not a Niners fan, and I don't want to come on here as a Niners hater at all, but it's like you guys played Yuba City, CRC, and American River, and we're celebrating for beating teams that you should have beat. You have the easiest schedule in football. You should be winning these games, but you guys aren't winning in a fashion to where an Eagles fan is like, shit, the Niners, oh my gosh, the Niners are coming. It's like you guys haven't played anybody, and it's like, to Toddy's comment, I really wish he would have been on the air for this. It's like, yeah, Ricky Pearsall had 100 yards, but it's like, you don't throw the ball to Marquez Scantlin, Sky Moore. Like, who else you going to throw the ball to? He's the only receiver out there. Besides him, it's just CMC. And Sunday, Pearsall 8 receptions. CMC 10 receptions. The next highest reception was 4. So it's like, yeah, he's looking really good now, but it's like he has no one else to compete with in that room. When Jaevon was there, Ricky wasn't going for 100 yards. So when BA comes back, what does that look like? So congratulations, you're 3-0 league. You don't win games easily. You guys to get these W's, congratulations. the NFL. But the way as you're kind of dismantling itself sucks. It's been Skim's boy. So we saw it live on air. It didn't look bad at all. And then, like Shaun mentioned, they skimmed over to him, and he's putting the thumbs down. And you're like, oh shit, like maybe this is worse than what it is. But the Niners, every year in and year out, they deal with these same problems. They deal with the injuries, they deal with the injuries, and you guys find out a way to overcome them. So I feel like you guys are just going to do it again. But early on, it's not a good look. I would hate to have to be in your guys' shoes and have to lose everybody. But to the Niners fans that are watching, Bryce Huff is not the answer. So get out there, Papa John, and bring in an edge rusher because he got a Super Bowl ring for not playing a single game in the playoffs. So healthy scratch every game. So best of luck to you guys. You have the Bucks next. No, Jaguars. You said the Jaguars next. So a chance to go 4-0, and then see how it all plays out. But you guys have to figure it out defensively. Robert Saleh came back for a reason, and he's going to get the guys to rally around him. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how you guys finish out the year.
Yeah, as Smooth said, it didn't even look serious live, and so that's the most unfortunate thing. And the craziest part about it, Kevin, is that Nick Bosa, I saw clips afterwards. He was literally doing high knees on the sideline after he tore his ACL. Like, that man is just different, absolutely different. And so, credit to him. It's unfortunate, the injury that he had and that he's going to be out for the entire season now. But it is what it is. It's the reality. The league moves on. The 49ers will be moving on. And I just hope that these injuries don't keep snowballing to the point that we saw in 2020 and 2024, where the 49ers are unable to overcome those injuries. That's what I hope that they're able to avoid, but I guess only time will tell. So it'll be interesting to see if they can overcome it. And we're going to keep things moving here on episode number 159 of Stats Over Politics. Shaun Holko alongside Kevin Dent, Jaevon Toddy. The Podfather is hanging out in the background for right now. Kevin, now let's move on to the last game that we're going to dive into in depth. And this is your squad, and I give you credit, even with them being the reigning, defending, undisputed Super Bowl champions. Every single week so far, I've said, hey, which 3 games do you guys want to talk about? And you're never the one to bring up the Eagles. And I give you credit for that, because if my team was the reigning champions and also had 2 of arguably the best matchups in the NFL so far in the last 3 weeks. Like, we talked about the Ravens and the Lions, like we just saw, and there was the Ravens and the Bills to start the season. But and that's just off the top of my head. But other than those 2 matchups, the Eagles have had the best matchups as far as just going into the game, what you're expecting between Eagles and Chiefs, Super Bowl rematch, and Eagles and Rams, a divisional round rematch. And you're never the one to say, hey, let's talk about my Eagles, but I have to be the one to be like, hey, well, the Eagles are 3-0 now, and the Eagles, they were playing a team that's considered to be not only a playoff contender, but potentially a Super Bowl contender. And the Eagles got it done once again as Philly prevails 33-26. They got a late field goal block in this game that ended up winning it for them. But just what were your takeaways from the Eagles flying high to 3-0?
The reason I don't want to come in here and talk about them every week is because it's expected. Everyone talks about the schedule, but, on this schedule is the teams we already beat. And everyone wants to say we got worse, but I don't know what team they're looking at. I think we got better. When you're having to commit to young guys and having young guys play well, they're going to only get better. They can't get any worse. We still don't even have Nakobe Dean back. So for our young Jahad Campbell to come in there night in and night out and just ball his ass out alongside the best linebacker in football and Zach Bond, this team is rolling. Down 18, it was not looking pretty. This game is going to be remembered as the Jordan Davis game. 4 years ago, he was labeled, throughout his 4 years, he has been labeled a bust. And I think it was really hard to label him a bust. But when you have guys like Kyle Hamilton being picked right after him, all pro Kyle Hamilton, it's like, all right, Jordan Davis, we traded up for you. We could have got a guy like Kyle Hamilton. You haven't been able to play to what you needed to do. But throughout these 3 games, he's been arguably our best defender. Jordan Davis, 1 turnover on down stop, 2 blocked field goals, 1 return to the house, 5 tackles, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, and a quarterback rush. Besides a blown coverage against the Chiefs, we have not given up a touchdown in the second half. So that goes to Vic Fangio. We've had a lot of turnover on defensive coordinator-wise after being a successful team. To have that camaraderie roll over into a second season, Vic Fangio is showing why he's one of the best to do it. Like I said, Quintana Bay. I'm going to come in here and say this every week. Devontae Adams said, walking into the locker room before the game, Quinion's never seen nobody like him. And, that's crazy to say because he played a Jamar Chase. He played a CeeDee Lamb twice a year. Like, we play a lot of good receivers. So for Devontae Adams to kind of stick his chest out and say something like that, and 5 targets, 2 catches, 12 yards, 0 touchdowns. He held Puka to 8 yards, 1 catch, 1 target. So this defense is continuing to play. Zach Bond is playing his ass off. He got the pick. He was 7 total tackles, 3 stops, 90.1 coverage grade, which was the best on team. We're down 19 points. 18 points. Jalen Hurts says, you know what, Saquon? Come on. I got us. Get on the back. And when he was trailing, 18 for 29, 212 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. You can say what you want about this offense. There's only one offense to have 100% in the red zone, and it's the Philadelphia Eagles. 8 for 8. When we get down there, we're finishing with a touchdown. We are not kicking field goals. A.J. Brown, welcome to the season. 6 catches, 109 yards, and a touchdown. But this game comes down to Lane Johnson. When Lane Johnson doesn't play, we are minus 500. We're negative. We are not a winning team. Pryor came in there. So when Lane Johnson played, 4 snaps, 0 hurries, 0 sacks, 0 quarterback rushes. Pryor comes in for 8 snaps, 1 hurry, 2 sacks, 1 strip fumble. Before Lane Johnson went out, you said what?
I said they got the dude that was backing up Lane Johnson. They yanked him.
Yes,
like
had
that.
to get him out of here. We had 2 3 and outs the whole season. When Lane went out, we finished with 8. So it was 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. Fred Jackson, you and Jordan Davis won us this game. He's a left tackle, had to play right tackle. He's the 3rd string. 25 snaps, 2 hurries, no sacks, no quarterback fumbles, no hits. We were averaging 1.1 yard per play until he got in there for those 8 plays. When he gets in there, 6.6 yards per play, 20 points scored. This offense figures out a way to win. Cass said it last week. It's just a winning culture. When we get down, you don't see heads get down. You don't see Pickens, like dudes on the Cowboys, throwing their helmets. We're cool, calm, and collective. Nick Sirianni is the head of this snake, and he doesn't sweat. What I'm really worried about in this game was who the fuck was calling plays in the second half, because it wasn't Kevin Patullo. Jalen Hurts was yelling at the offensive coordinator while he was sitting on the bench. I honestly think Nick Sirianni was calling plays in that second half because it was no more slants, no more bubbles, no more quarterback draws. You got to unleash this offense. I get it. We were down big, so it's easy to look at it and be like, well, you had no option but to throw. If we can continuously get our passing game going as long as our rush game, there's no reason why this time next year there's not a 3rd jersey hanging behind my head. So, it's really nice. Unfortunate for the Rams fan. You built this team to beat the Eagles, and you couldn't do it again. Toddy's going to say, well, Kevin, the NFC divisional game, it was snowing. That's why they lost. Not a cloud in the sky on Sunday. Not a cloud in the sky. So I don't know what they're going to blame now. I guess they're going to blame the long snapper from here on out. So Jalen Hurts owns Matthew Stafford and the Rams. They're 4-0 against them. So like I said, we're expected to win these games. So you're not going to see me come in here on Mondays screaming from the hollers, we won. If you guys were in our group chat, Toddy sent 3-0 like 16 times. 3-0, 3-0, baby. We back, we back. He's forcing his son to wear a Niners jersey. I'm just like, damn.
Forcing is crazy.
You guys are supposed – you guys have the worst schedule in the NFL, and every Sunday it's a celebration. It's a parade in my city, like John Morant says. So we're supposed to win these games, and I'm happy we're able to pull it out.
Yeah, the Eagles, they scored 26 unanswered points to win this game. The Rams, they led 19-7 at halftime and basically led 26-7 for all intents and purposes basically at halftime, because the Rams went up 26-7 54 seconds into the second half. So for the most part, the Rams were up 26-7 at halftime, and then the Eagles did what the Eagles did, as Kevin elaborated there. And Toddy, before I get your thoughts on this, I wanted to highlight a comment from Grey Wolf where he says, Rams were the better team against the Eagles in the first half. 3 of those red zone possessions should have been TDs, but ended up with 3 field goals. So, Toddy, what do you say in response to that?
Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Yeah, I mean, the Rams were putting belt to ass for 3 quarters. I do think the Eagles had to get waking up a little bit halftime. I don't know what Sirianni, what Hurts, and all those boys were saying at halftime, but they were like, this is not Philly football. And they came out. They were scoring touchdowns, and the Rams were matching with field goals. That was literally the game. I think Grey Wolf said it best, kind of copied my whole flow there when he said when the Rams would get into red zone territory, they would stall out and have to kick field goals rather than scoring touchdowns, which ultimately kept the Eagles in the game. A.J. Brown, we had an A.J. Brown sighting in this game. Everybody calm down. A.J. Brown's not dead. He's not broken, guys. He's still a really good receiver. He's back. And I do think Jalen Hurts had something to do with the play calling. As Kevin mentioned, as he was kind of getting into it with the OC. And, hey, we have a top 5 receiver on the end. We have Slim Reaper on the other end. And, by the way, Saquon Barkley's our running back. Let's try and get these guys involved. I don't know what Chris Jones would have to say in this game, saying that you only threw for 100 yards. I thought Jalen Hurts played really well in this game. And the Rams, I don't know, man. That was not the only blocked field goal. I don't know if Kevin already mentioned that earlier in his take, but the Eagles D-line is still really good, and they were forcing a lot of TFLs in the second half and kind of blowing up the Rams' offensive line. And it was showing on those special teams plays, the first blocked field goal from Jordan Davis, and then obviously the game winner that ended up covering the spread for a lot of people who had Eagles minus 3.5, which I obviously had, by the way. But it was just an insane game. The way how it was literally 2 games in one. Like the first half was one separate game. Like the Rams get back, they beat us last year twice, and we had to get our revenge, this, that, and the third. And they came out all guns blazing. And then obviously in the second half, the Eagles came back roaring and showed everybody why they are the defending Super Bowl champions. So it's going to be – it's going to be like this every week because everybody expects the Eagles to win now because it's like, okay, you're the favorite to come out of the NFC. You're probably the favorite to repeat, if I'm not mistaken, from the preseason. The preseason favorites to win the Super Bowl. I think the Eagles were so they basically have the target on their back every single week. And so Kevin's going to have to come on here every week and say, you got to send your best hitter. And so he's just going to have his hands out. Who we got this week? Oh, okay. Next. Kevin's like, we got the best. You guys got the worst schedule. We got the best schedule. Imagine if we had your schedule, we'd go 17-0. That's what Kevin was going to say. So, I mean, when it comes down to it, I think the Eagles have better players than the Rams. I think we can all agree on that. I do think, as far as coaching wise, I think the Rams kind of let us down in those situations when it came down to the red zone factor in them. They were moving the ball down the field, but they were unable to capitalize on those red zone trips. And I think ultimately that's what lost them the game. Oh, and by the way, Jordan Davis blocked the game-winning field goal. Just saying. That also happened too. To cover the spread. I don't think you guys realize how insane that is. how insane everyone
is. It really crazy if he did it one time before in the same game? Or is it kind of just like he's like that?
It's crazy because if you just block the field goal, the Rams cover the spread. Okay, they lost. Whoop-de-doo. They lose. They lost. But Jordan Davis scooped he had the presence of mind to scoop the ball and run down the field and score a touchdown when they could have just won right there. And then so it was insane yesterday. A lot of blocked field goals yesterday. A lot of insane betting day. Insane.
You muted, Shaun. You muted, Shaun.
Shaun got by the mute button.
Oh, thank you. Well, I was trying to get these comments put in on the ticker, and I didn't want to be clicking away during Toddy's response.
That was going crazy in the comments right now.
Yeah, I got by the mute button. So thank you guys for catching me on that. And those comments that I was working away on inputting into our StreamYard system is at Big Salbra 65 on Instagram says rain, sleet, or snow, Eagles trained to go. Then he says the Rams are good, but like I said, they played two bad teams before playing us. Salute emoji. And then he also adds, it'll definitely be a great game this Sunday against the Buccaneers. And
did you guys see Jalen Hurts' reaction after they blocked the field goal? He's just like,
brother, I mean, you guys want us to be like crazy excited. Like, we do this shit. Like,
Kevin, you were kicking and screaming after the Kevin's
brother, I'm not gonna lie to you. I was gonna give Kaz his flowers. I text Kaz, I was like, brother, pack it up. It's over. We're cooked. Pryor stinks. Like, we have nothing to do. And he said, Kevin, we got this. We got this. I'm like, Kaz, not with him out there. We don't got it.
We don't got it.
So
Kevin's like, you might as well send me and you out there.
We're kicking the field goal, and I put myself in the corner. I said, Alyssa, I can't watch. 3, 2, he blocked it! He's running, bro, running all around. I was like, what the fuck? Yep.
Oh, my God.
I was cooked.
Yeah, it was insane just how calm that he was. And then you see Kevin probably saw this because I saw it. When Jordan Davis was getting interviewed and then Jalen Hurts walked in and he was like, I knew y'all was gonna make a play. Like LeBron always said, I just knew it's walking out there when it was before the kickoff. I just knew it was gonna make a play. So thought that was really, really cool insight there.
For sure. And something that I wanted to add from our YouTube comments, Grey Wolf says AJ Brown became relevant after the announcers pointed out that he had no receptions in the first half. Announcers jinx works again. But hey, at least the announcers jinx worked in a positive way this time because
reverse announcer.
I always think about the announcers jinx like in a negative way of like, Jaevon Toddy is a perfect 12 of 12 at the free throw line tonight. Can he keep it going, brick? And so it's like the announcers jinx always seems to be a negative thing. And so I was just glad to see that it ended up being a positive thing.
Should we be thanking Kevin because now that they beat the Rams, we're number one in the NFC West? Is this a gift? Was this a gift?
I think we should. I think we should. Kevin, thank you. Kaz, I hope you see this later. Thank you. Because when I initially saw that the Eagles came back to win, I was like, damn it. Like, Eagles almost got, and the Rams couldn't finish the job once again. But then I realized in hindsight, I was like, well, it's the regular season. So we want the Rams to lose. So shout out to Philly. Thank you. We appreciate you. Because if the Rams won that game, the 49ers would have been tied for first. Instead, they are now in sole possession of first place. And so we thank you for that. We appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure doing business.
Yes, sir. And one final thing that I wanted to get to from Sal on Instagram. He says, as an Eagles fan, I really don't like the Niners, but dang, man, that's unfortunate having all those injuries, but the backups are definitely stepping up with the hang loose emoji. We appreciate that, Sal. Thank you. It's been tough it's been tough for us 49ers fans these last couple seasons. These injuries just seem like they are not stopping. And so hopefully they get to the point where they actually do stop. And I slipped my mind to show this in our last segment, but since Toddy brought it up, I briefly mentioned it at the top, but since Toddy brought it up, I just wanted to show everyone a photo that me and my lady took
It's not
the 49ers game
guys.
yesterday.
Great seats.
Not a green screen.
Yes,
Is she
that
a CMC jersey?
Does she have a who?
CMC jersey?
Nah, she got a Fred Warner jersey. So you know how like I always show these photos where it's like Kevin's close personal friend, Sue Bird, my close personal friend, Jalen Brunson, or Aaron Banks, Keon Ellis. The funny thing about Allie is that she refers to Fred Warner as her close personal friend because her and her one of her friends went to a food drive that Fred Warner was throwing like 2-3 years ago. And so she got to meet him because she donated like hella cans. And so ever since she got to meet him at that food drive, she's like, "Oh, you mean my friend Fred?" And I'm like, and
they're on a first name basis.
Right, exactly. And I'm not sure if either of you saw my Instagram story yesterday with the volume up, but I just recorded like a random play where the Cardinals were on offense on the other side of the field. And at the very end of the video, when the 49ers defense was converging on the Cardinals wide receiver, you hear someone in the background yell, "Get him, Fred!" And that was Allie. And I said that to her afterwards. I was like,
"That's my friend."
I was like, "Do you hear yourself like fucking screaming for Fred Warner?" So yeah, shout out to my girlfriend Allie. It was an awesome time at the game yesterday, and I'm grateful to have her by my side. So now keeping things moving here on episode 159 of Stats Over Politics, Shaun Holko alongside Kevin Dent and Jaevon Toddy. Guys, we have spoken about the 3 games that we're going to get into in depth on today's podcast. So it's time to get to the rest of the games from week 3 in the NFL. And so, Kevin, I'm going to start things off with you as I apologize because I was just waiting for my phone to load and now it's frozen. So that sucks. Oh, hey, there we go. Kevin, I'm going to start things off with you as on Thursday Night Football, AFC East battle. The Bills beat the Dolphins 31-21 in a game that was a lot closer than many of us expected.
Dude, Tua. I talk a lot of shit about being a Niner fan. I couldn't imagine being a fucking Dolphin fan. For 2 weeks, just thinking it up. You get a drive, you're down 14-21, you're in the red zone, you just do a big play, interception, game over. It's deflating. We finally get to see life in Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Devon Achane, and we end the game talking about the quarterback. And it's like, you can only blame Mike McDaniel so much. He doesn't have shoulder pads, and he's not out there tackling and making plays. This team comes to play. But it's like before the game, Tua was talking about Josh Allen, man. He does this better than me. He does that better than me. He's such a good quarterback. And I was like, dude, you going to show up to play or you just going to show up to be a fan? The Bills are showing like they're one of the best teams in the NFC. The NFL. Week in, week out, whether they have to put a bunch of points or whether they got to put a defensive performance out there. They're continuing to show why they're one of the best teams in the NFL. So it sucks to be a Dolphins fan, but the Bills continue to keep on stomping. So it's kind of whoever's in their way, you got to worry about Josh Allen, doing the no-look passes or the little flea flickers. James Cook is showing like he's one of the best running backs in the world.
And as Sal says on Instagram, Tua turned the ball over. That's a pretty good one. I gotta say, I had to quickly get that one inputted just because I wanted to highlight that comment. Yeah, Toddy fingers moving hella quickly. So Jaevon, if you could get to this next game for us, the Vikings absolutely destroyed my Bengals 48-10.
Try to tell you about Jake Browning, man. He's gonna turn into a frog. I get it. He had his run. Kevin resurfaced the clip of me talking about Jake Browning, me betting against him, losing money, and saying, you got to start betting on him. He's going to go out and he's going to make some things happen. That was a long time ago. I don't. Carson Wentz makes the offense look better. I don't know. Carson Wentz is a veteran, so I mean he's been there. JJ's still trying to get his feet under him. But you just saw JP Mason making plays. You have we got a Justin Jefferson siding. I mean, guys were catching the ball left and right. TJ Hawkinson was making plays. And the defense, I keep forgetting the corner's name that he had 2 touchdowns.
Isaiah Rodgers.
Eagles. Oh, no way. Isaiah Rodgers from the Eagles. Kev's like, he switches jerseys and then all of a sudden. Yeah, he had 2 touchdowns in this game. And shout out to Cordell for having Vikings defense on his bench. So I want to give a great shout out to it's a big no-no to have 2 defenses, let alone the defense you got on your bench at 35 points. So shout out to Cordell. I don't even know if he won or not this week, but letting you guys know. Quick fantasy update. Your boys 1 and 2. Shout out to Cousin James. We're back.
W, huh? Welcome to the club. You can talk in the chat now.
We're back, guys. So, as far as the Bengals go, I mean, I don't know how long you guys are going to let this keep happening before you go out and get another guy in there. I don't know who they would try to go after. Kirk Cousins costs a lot of money for. Kevin is, for audio-only listeners, is showing up his wrist. Go get Shedeur Sanders, who is in division. So a little bit of insider trading there. Jameis Winston's out there. So, I mean, that would be entertaining. I don't know what that would look like. But, I mean, the Bengals, if they want to save their season, they have to probably look elsewhere for a quarterback. And I get their quarterback is hurt. But at what point are you willing to punt on the season? And we haven't even had a full month yet. So, shout out to Carson Wentz.
Yeah, I know that I picked the Bengals to win the Super Bowl this season, but if somehow they decided to punt on the season at this point and the 49ers somehow ended up with Trey Hendrickson, cue the Drewski meme, because I ain't going to be upset about it at all. So at this point, Bengals, punt on the season, trade us Trey Hendrickson. Please. Thank you. As we keep things moving. Oh, man, that would be phenomenal. Keeping things moving here on episode 159 with our week 3 NFL recap. I'll get to this next one as Gary Singh, Cordell Reedy, their Steelers defeated the Patriots 21-14. And I really don't know what to make of this game. Like, I don't necessarily think that the Patriots are going to be a playoff team this year. So is it really that impressive? The fact that they won on the road in New England against the Patriots, I don't necessarily think so. But I will say that the Steelers defense, they looked impressive in this game. They forced 5 turnovers. Anytime you force 5 turnovers, that's got to be an impressive stat, at least in my opinion. But Aaron Rodgers, second consecutive week, not looking the strongest. 16 of 23, 2 touchdowns and an interception with 139 passing yards. And the Steelers get the win, but I don't think my good friend Keith Joganadis is saying that they're going to win the Super Bowl anymore like he was after week 1. So I guess we'll have to wait and see when it comes to that. Kevin, another game that we're getting to is in the AFC South. The Colts beat the Titans 41-20, and the Colts are 3-0.
Indiana Jones finding a way to do it every week. Fucking Jonathan Taylor looks like a top 3 running back in the world. He continues out week in and week out, 30-point fantasy games, 30-point fantasy games. He's finding a way. And it's like he's kind of getting the Saquon Barkley treatment. Daniel Jones is doing quarterback sneaks. He's taking touchdowns away. So to see how this plays out, I feel so bad for Cam Ward. So bad for Cam Ward. We didn't have – the Titans can't catch. They can't run. They can't block. They can't tackle. It's going to be a long year for Cam Ward. But as far as the Colts go, this was a game they're supposed to win. They came out and put it away early. So the Colts continue to win, and the question is, how long can they keep going, especially with the Jags and Texans not looking hot. it's basically their division.
Jeremiah Smith,
Jaevon's-
you are a Tennessee Titan.
Maybe they'll stink for the next 2 years, so then he'll end up getting drafted there, and Cam Ward will finally.
Did you guys see? Oh, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
It's okay.
There was a story behind Cam Ward. He was trying to recruit Jeremiah Smith to come
to Miami.
And he was like, he didn't really, no one knew who he was at that point in time. And I think he was committed to Florida State at one time, but then decommitted.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was like, they were asking him about like his NIL and this, that, and the third. And they were like, there's this kid who's supposed to be committed. His name is Jeremiah Smith. I don't know if you heard of him. Yeah, I don't really know what the kid is really like that. But he said they were talking a little bit, and I guess things just fell through, and he ended up committed to Ohio State. And now Jeremiah Smith is what he is now. But I think it would have been kind of cool to see him at Miami. But I don't know if I don't know. I mean, because Miami's offense was already really good with Cam Ward there last year. Jeremiah Smith being there would have made them better. But Jeremiah Smith does not play defense. And Miami's defense was god-awful last year. So, complete 180 now. But, yeah, hindsight's 2020.
Well, before we move on from the Colts, since we were just talking about the Colts and Titans, Grey Wolf poses an interesting question. He says, I meant to talk about this topic last week, but is Daniel Jones actually good? Or is this just the effect of leaving a bad New York team? We don't have to dive too deep into this because this is our speedy recap. But, Jaevon, which is it for you? Is he actually good, or are the Giants just awful?
I think Shane Steichen is really good. You saw
Eldorado Hills.
You saw with Gardner Minshew, they were a play away. The running back literally dropped the ball off of a swing route, and they were going to make the playoffs with Gardner Minshew. Now, again, Anthony Richardson he doesn't really have enough experience, and it's hard to develop a guy who's only played like 12 games. You saw that with Trey Lance. I think Daniel Jones just it's so much easier now because we're seeing this happen, like with Sam Darnold. He went with the Vikings last year, and they won 14 games. So I think it's more. I think Daniel Jones, because Daboll is a solid coach. He had Josh Allen, but that could just be Josh Allen is just a generational talent, and anybody who was coaching Josh Allen would have gotten a head coaching job. Like me, you, or Kev could have gotten the head coach job for the Bills that we just said, or the Giants that we just said, yeah, Josh Allen's my guy. We were calling plays together. But, I mean, I think Shane Steichen is really, really good. And I do think the personnel – there's really a lot of teams in this league that have a really good team, but their quarterback is so god-awful that it just makes the whole entire thing – like, I genuinely think the Saints have a solid team, but their quarterback situation is so awful and bad, it just washes everything away. Like, I think the Raiders have solid personnel on their team, but their quarterback situation, and they really have a lot of things that they need to kind of fix. But, like, there's just a lot of the quarterback play is who your head coach is, and your quarterback and your personnel around you and your quarterback is so detrimental to how good your team can actually be. Because you can have a really good coach, but if your quarterback sucks, you're going to win 6 games. It doesn't matter who you are. But if you have a solid quarterback, but the O-line's ass, and like your coach is a defensive guy who's not really in tune with the quarterback, then everything kind of falls through. So I'd say another example of that is when Jared Goff got Sean McVay after his rookie year when he was with Jeff Fisher, and it was just night and day on how comfortable that he looked. And they were like a top whatever pick. And then Sean McVay comes to town, they make the playoffs. So there's a lot of examples that you could kind of look at. Like you could say Sean Payton when he got Bo Nix versus when he had Russell Wilson. They were, a top 10 pick when they had Russell Wilson, who's probably beyond his years by then. And then all of a sudden they draft Bo Nix. They go to the playoffs with a rookie quarterback. So I think head coach quarterback combination is so just like, it has to be insane. Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid. Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni. There's just a bunch. There's a lot of different. Like it's so important because if those things are not in sync together, everything goes to shit. Then people start getting fired, and then you have to start rebuilding. And GM gets fired, and then I didn't draft this guy. I gotta get my guys in there. It's just a whole cycle that goes in. Like I think the Jets are experiencing something similar to this. They'll draft a bunch of guys. They try to get a quarterback. Zach Wilson gets the GM and the head coach fired. They have to bring in a new GM and head coach. Now they don't have a quarterback. Their team stinks. Their team sucks, and they don't have a quarterback. That's like the worst combination to have. When you don't have a quarterback and your team sucks, because you're going to constantly be in this cycle of having to draft. You have to hit on the right guy, you have to hit on the right GM, and you have to hit on the right head coach. And if you don't have all of those things intact together, everything goes to shit.
Toddy, I was with you on everything that you said until you used the New York Jets and their current quarterback as an example. Should I just take that as like your third resignation from the Justin Fields fan club?
Oh yeah, I've been out.
Oh my god! All right, I gotta say it as the president. Toddy, you're officially banned. You can no longer come back in.
You can't come back here.
Kevin, you haven't tried, but if you try to rejoin or join for the first time, the Justin Fields
you will
fan
be
club,
removed from the premises.
I'm good. I'm outside the party.
I was going to say that. Kevin, I was going to say that you're still welcome. Toddy's not, but Kevin does not want to step foot in our fan club. And
I was there, and now I'm out, and I don't throw away my guest pass.
All right, fair enough.
He shredded.
Well,
shredded his guest pass.
I'll be there. I will be there until his career is over. I'm rocking with him forever. I mean,
we all have that one guy that we support no matter what, so it's all good.
Exactly, for sure. Kevin, real quickly.
Yeah. Gotta let that one go.
Kevin, real quickly on Grey Wolf's question. Is Daniel Jones actually good, or is this just the effect of leaving New York?
We saw when he plays the Broncos, and they're able to get that win. If they win next week, I think the answer is yes. They play the Rams, so to play a team like the Dolphins and the Titans, and you beat the shit out of them, and then you come back and lead a game-winning drive against the Broncos, who's a playoff team. So you're playing another playoff team in the Rams. So if Daniel Jones is able to continue to be undefeated and beat the Rams, I think the conversation has to be Daniel Jones is a damn good quarterback.
Fair enough. So now, Jaevon, if you could get to the other side of the coin when it came to the AFC West, the Jaguars beat the Texans 17-10, and I don't know what the fuck is going on in Houston. Houston, we have a problem.
CJ, they re-showed the CJ Stroud when Kim and Caleb Williams met at midfield, and they were saying, they were saying CJ Stroud act like he was the first ballot Hall of Famer in his second year in the league. I mean, I don't think their offense is any good. I think the play calling is subpar. He does not have a running game. That does have a little bit to do with Joe Mixon being out, and Nick Chubb is washed. I do think currently, as Shaun has a picture of Keon Ellis on there, I'm not sure why.
But I have no idea. I did not even click that. Like
his Kings fandom is showing through in the basketball. He's letting you guys know basketball season's on the way.
No, I was just trying to change the background, and I literally sometimes I just mess up and I press the wrong button. I didn't even press the button that time. I don't know how that happened. But
Shaun,
I'm sorry, Toddy. Go ahead.
They're getting the top 5 seed. We get it, Shaun. We get it. I do think, as far as the Texans go, you got the head coach, as I was just talking about earlier. You got the head coach. You got the quarterback. Personnel around him on the offensive side, to be specific, is a little bit shaky because you're missing Nico Collins. Christian Kirk is coming back from injury that he's been rehabbing most of the training camp, and you kind of just have Nico Collins out there running routes, and it's easy for defenses to key in on one guy, and you don't really have a threat to anybody else on the field. So I think defenses are starting to realize that, and Stroud doesn't really have anywhere to go to with the ball, and he's getting sacked. The line isn't playing well, so there's a lot going on. Starting 0-3 in this division, usually isn't as bad as it sounds because that division isn't really up to speed with. I'd say it's the worst division in football. We're being honest, but now it's the Colts are 3-0, and so now it just looks impossible because they got a 3-game lead on the Texans, who are who've won the division the last 2 years. As far as the Jags go, it's like the Jags tried to hand this game to the Texans. Or at least Trevor Lawrence tried to on a couple of occasions, who was indeed my starting fantasy quarterback. I had no options. I was cornered, guys. I had Justin Fields as my goddamn quarterback. I need Brock to come back, and then everything will be copacetic.
Daniel Jones waiting for you, Toddy.
Kevin has this thing where he will draft somebody or he will get somebody off of the waiver wire because they had a really good week or 2 weeks and hope someone goes and trades for him. Not that guy. But I do think I picked the Jags to win this division, and me and Kevin picked Travis Hunter to win Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year. Haven't really heard. He's supposed to be a starting wide receiver. Haven't really seen him. Heard from him. He had a couple of catches this past game, but I mean, we got to see a little bit more. I mean, the Jags traded up a lot of draft capital to get him at number 2 overall. I get it. It's the first. We're not even the first month yet, but we see flashes from guys. Abdul Carter, I feel like, is a maniac, just running out there doing whatever he can. Cam Ward, albeit he's on the Titans, we see why he was the number 1 overall pick. I mean, I think the best rookie we'll probably get to whoever gets the Bucs game has been Emeka Egbuka, and he's been terrific for that Bucs team. But I mean, this Jags team, man, they don't really look. They just look like they didn't get worse or they got better. They kind of just stayed the same. And I guess we'll see moving on next week because they do play San Francisco 49ers coming up. So, albeit, I mean, the Jags are virtually still in the hunt for that first place in the AFC South. But, God, they didn't look good this past weekend.
So I got this next game, and I was just alluding to how I don't really understand what's going on in Houston. The team that I really don't understand at this point is the Atlanta Falcons. The Carolina Panthers beat the Falcons 30-0 at home. Michael Penix looked terrible in this game. I picked him up on my fantasy teams, or I think I picked him up in one league. I have him in Dynasty. Like, I got him on multiple teams, and he just looked absolutely terrible in this game. I mean, the stat line doesn't look egregious, 18 of 36 for 172 passing yards and 2 interceptions. But when your team is losing 30-0, there's clearly a problem. And I just don't understand what this Atlanta Falcons team is this year, because they lose a close one at home to the Buccaneers to start the season. Then they go to Minnesota on Sunday Night Football. Maybe it was J.J. McCarthy's injury, whatever, but they beat the Vikings 22-6. And we just saw what the Vikings just did the Bengals with a backup Carson Wentz. And so I do not understand this, because we all have unanimously agreed that we feel like the Buccaneers are the favorite in the NFC South. We were talking earlier about the AFC South potentially being the worst division in football. With this Falcons loss, one could argue that the NFC South is the worst division in football. I just don't understand how the Falcons could not only lose this game, like losing in the division happens, but to get shut out 30-0 by the Carolina Panthers, make it make sense. It doesn't make sense to me. Maybe it makes sense to one of you guys. I just don't understand it at all.
I do want to add, last year, the Panthers were the reason why the Falcons did not make the playoffs, because last year the Falcons needed to, the last game of the season, the Falcons needed to win their last game of the year to have like a chance to make the playoffs, and they were playing the Panthers, and the Panthers ruined their season essentially last year. So maybe the Panthers just have the Falcons number, or are the Panthers good? I'm not sure about that either.
Yeah, I don't know. I would say I would probably lean more towards the former there, that the Panthers just have the Falcons number. But Sal, he presents an interesting question on Instagram where he says, so do we start Cousins now? I mean, they're paying him all that money. If nobody's trading for him right now, you might as well give it a shot. But if you're giving it a shot, man, I don't know. Like, if you start Cousins right now after you went to Penix last year and you stuck with Penix going into this season, basically saying this is your team, and then you go back to Cousins, that kind of gives up on Michael Penix, just like the Colts did with Anthony Richardson. So
Panthers did it.
Yeah, Panthers did it. I guess it worked.
That's true. That's true. That's a great point, Kevin. That is an excellent point. Bryce Young has looked so much better since he got benched. But the one counterpoint I will add to that, as great of a point as that is, Kevin, Bryce Young, when he walked in on day one, it was his team. He struggled. They benched him. He came back. It's his team again. Michael Penix, it wasn't his team when he walked in day one. He was the 8th overall pick, but it wasn't his team when he walked in day one. It's interesting. I don't know. It's an interesting question that Sal poses, and we shall see as the situation continues to develop. As Jaevon said, maybe the Panthers just have the Falcons number. I'm not sure. But keeping things moving with the Buccaneers defeating the Jets 29-27, Kevin.
We say it every week, but Baker Mayfield. You know, when the going gets rough, he's going to figure it out. Tyrod Taylor, I was not aware of your game. You came out there and struck your ball. I was not aware of your game. All week you hear about how the Jets are going to get an improved passing game now that they have Tyrod Taylor over Justin Fields. Tyrod Taylor and this Jets team could win a couple games. So I don't know. I know that Justin's in the concussion protocols, so he'll probably play next week. But to have your backup go in there week one and damn near beat the Bucs and Tampa is not a good look. So Justin Fields is going to have to come back and put up another Steelers game performance to keep that job, because Tyrod Taylor has been he's a quarterback that's been in the league for a long time. And he's been for the Jets for, I think, 3-4 years now. So he's been in that system. He's been in that locker room. I know it's a new coach, but the coach is always going to want to have a veteran guy in that locker room. So to be able to challenge Justin Fields every day. But like Mike Evans went down, so that's not good. But Emeka Egbuka has been making play after play after play. So this offense is explosive. Once they get Tristan Wirfs back, and Chris Godwin is going to be scary to see what this team looks like.
Don't y'all play them next week? So
we do.
Be scared. Be scared.
Who should be scared?
You just said they were scary.
I think in this situation the Eagles should be scared, because you and Kaz constantly talk about how the Buccaneers have your number.
The only thing is Mike Evans probably might not play this game either.
Mike Evans ain't gonna not play. He'll go out there and get W for 100 snaps before he don't play.
You think he's gonna play?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay, that's good for my fantasy team then.
Me too.
That's good. Appreciate it, Kev.
So now getting to this next game, Jaevon, the Commanders beat the Raiders 41-24.
Mariota's back, guys. So the Bengals might have to trade for Marcus Mariota. I think the Raiders were really bad. At least I thought they would be a whole lot more from this is the game that you gotta have it a little bit, because it's on the road. I get it, but you're playing against a backup quarterback in Marcus Mariota. But Mariota just came in there in the Cliff Kingsbury system and kind of just fit like a glove. I mean, we saw Debo returning kicks. He was getting involved early. We got Bill Krosky Merritt for all the fantasy dweebers. Terry McLaurin was making plays. So, this was a get back on track game for them, because after they kind of got destroyed on Thursday night, and they did it without their starting quarterback, JD5. So, is it too early to have this Ashton Genty ass conversation? A little bit too early.
Yeah, it's too early because he's on my fantasy team. So let's put that back a couple weeks.
He's on my dynasty team, so I got him for years to come.
6 points here. We gotta start seeing, or is the Raiders O-line ass.
There it is.
Yeah.
Is that what we're going? Because I saw a stat that was saying like it's like 50% hit rate before he reaches the line of scrimmage. So he's getting hit in the backfield and having to bounce off the tacklers. I did see something from our guy in Ryan Clark, who plays football, who played
and anyone who has never played football has no opinion at all. Should never have an opinion.
Know, he did indeed play football. But anyway, he was saying something about Genty, saying that hasn't really seen a pop from him. But I saw something that, I didn't see anything. I was saying that Ashton Genty could either be Derrick Henry or it could be Trent Richardson. Or it could be Trent Richardson.
Trent Richardson is crazy. 3 games in his NFL career.
I'm just saying it's something to watch. I don't think that it's going to happen, but I haven't seen anything to make encouraging in the first 3 weeks. But Kevin is holding on for dear life because he picked him in his fantasy team. But I get it. I understand. But I do want it to let the record be shown. It's a lot to deal with when you're going to an organization like the Raiders. You got to overcome a lot of shit other than just football. We get that. That's the main thing. That is what is going on. As Sal says, it's the O-line. Okay, that's a very valid point. But the Raiders are notoriously known for, even if you're like a hotshot big star out of college and you go to the Raiders, that doesn't mean that you're going to change the franchise. Because there's so much that goes on. As I was talking about earlier, ownership, who is your head coach? Now, Pete Carroll's a really good head coach. Who's your quarterback? And your personnel. Sal was saying the O-line. I was saying the O-line isn't the best. I think they rank like last in like just run blocking efficiency or whatever it was. Or they were like one of the bottom teams in the NFL as far as run blocking goes. So, not saying he's Trent Richardson, but I'm saying I would be worried going forward. I do think he's going to be a whole lot better moving forward because, I mean, I would hope he was a top 6 pick. Was he worth the top 6 pick? I'm not sure. But you would like to see a look. They were trying to load manage him already, Shaun. Like, who load manage as a rookie? I've never heard of that. And my fella, talking to my cousin Larry, who was in the league last year, he was saying he had 400 carries last year. He had over. Like, I'm like, I get it, but it's college. It's the Mountain West. It's Boise State. These are grown men he's going up against, which is a whole different ballgame, the best in the world, I would like to add. But, I mean, good God, like you would hope that you would see a little bit of a pop, a wiggle, 100-yard game. Hopefully that's loading. But, I mean, right now it's looking very discouraging for Raider fans. And it doesn't help that they're getting blown out by a backup quarterback on the road. They got another shot against the Bears this week. Like the Bears. But, I mean, Genty, why are we trying to load manage a rookie? Why are we doing that? I've never heard of that in my life. To anybody. I get that if it's like a quarterback, like the Giants are trying to hold back Jackson Dart because Russ is supposed to be the guy. He's making all this money, blah, 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 blah. But, I mean, we already saw Dave Ball come out and say, there's a possibility they might play this week. So, I don't know why you would want to load manage a talent in Ashton Genty, given the season that he had, the historic season that he had at Boise State last year. You'd want him to be on the field as much as possible.
Yeah, and for my own personal sake and bias, I just got a very quick backstory on Ashton Genty. So I mentioned how he's on my Dynasty fantasy football team, which for those of you who don't know, Dynasty is where you keep the same team year after year. And after you start the very first season, you only draft rookies. And so last season, I got off to a bad start. I sold off all my old players. And I was like, all right, I'm tanking. I tanked all throughout last season on purpose, basically threw $100 away for the future. And I got the first pick in the draft. And I was holding on to this first pick all off season. I could have taken any NFL rookie. I could have taken Travis Hunter, like Buka. Yeah, I could have taken anyone. But
guess who Shaun drafted, guys?
My team needed a running back so badly. And so I was like, you know what? Genty's my guy. He just seems like the most guaranteed stud. And here we
Shaun
are.
Is the best in this financially, people.
I'm not just invested in this like for this year. I'm invested in Ashton Genty basically for his whole career. Like, because I already got multiple trade offers for Ashton Genty after I drafted him, but like what I was offered, it definitely was not worth.
They were offering you the world.
Nah, if they were offering me the world, I would have sold his ass off. But they were a couple Raider fans were trying to lowball me and be like, "Oh, he's terrible. Take this bullshit ass trade." No, I am on like. I joke about being the president of the Justin Fields fan club. You can consider me the president of that Ashton Genty fan club now because
get your tickets now, guys.
Man, I am financially tied to Ashton Genty now, so I am hoping the best for Ashton Genty in his NFL career. Now that
still talking about Ashton Genty?
Yeah, it's because
Toddy finished Dynasty.
Yeah, Toddy finished his take on him, and I just gave the quick backstory of how I got him in Dynasty. Kevin, basically, I am tied to Ashton Genty now financially for at least the next 5 to 10 years, unless I trade him. So I'm hoping that he turns into Derrick Henry and not Trent Richardson. Otherwise, I'll leave it there.
Maybe not Derrick Henry now.
Hey, man, he's still putting up good numbers. He can't stop fumbling, and I feel so bad for the guy. So now keeping things moving here on episode 159 of Stats Over Politics, Shaun Holko alongside Jaevon, Toddy, and Kevin Dent. Jaevon, earlier, before you arrived, I made the joke that you presented in the group chat earlier. We talk about Kevin J. Dent, aka Kevin Jamal Dent, or more so James. But I'm sorry. Let's keep things moving. I know that we've been up since early today, so I want to keep things moving. I got this next game. The Chargers defeated the Broncos 23-20 to move to 3-0, and I'm ready to say it. The Chargers, they're legit. They are not only playoff contenders, but they very well could win the AFC West. I know that's not crazy saying that now, considering that the Chargers are 3-0 in that division, while the other three teams are 1-2. So 3 weeks into the season, they already got a 2-game lead on their opposition in that division. But the Chargers, they look for real to me. Second year under Jim Harbaugh. He likes to say, who's got it better than us? Nobody. And so I'm officially buying in on the Chargers. I don't think that they're the same old Chargers from years past, but I guess we'll truly find out when the playoffs come. So now, Kevin, if you could get to this next one, this is probably the biggest head scratcher of the weekend as the Browns defeat the Packers 13-10 in Cleveland.
You're telling me the number one team in the NFL lost to the Cleveland Browns?
Wow. Toddy's number one team.
I'll say the only one person who had the Browns that won, and that lasted.
Packers.
Excuse me. They just got a quick cup of coffee as number one team in the world. I've talked about this week in and week out. As good as your defense could be, if you can't score points, you're going to struggle. And this was a game that showed the Packers offense is at best. You know, they don't really have a number one receiver. They have Matthew Gold. They got Christian Watson coming back, Romeo Dobbs, Jalen Reed when hurt. Josh Jacobs was awful this game. 16 attempts for 30 yards. And I get it. It's Myles Garrett. There was a time in that game where they had 3 guys blocking Myles Garrett. So it's the Myles Garrett show. And that defense being so good is going to keep them in a lot of games. But this Packers O-line looked abysmal. But congrats to the Browns. You got a W.
Block kick.
As far as my Shador Sanders energy, I need them to keep losing. But them winning games keeps Joe Flacco in his seat. So, got to figure it out.
So this next game, Jaevon, I'm going to toss it to you. And I wanted to talk about this game because I got a crazy good stat. And so I'm going to mention the stat before we get your thoughts. But as the founding member of the Caleb Williams is a top 15 quarterback since he was a junior in college. The only member. Toddy, I'll let you talk about the Bears defeating the Cowboys 31-14 in depth. But before you do, I have a crazy stat, and this hurts me to say. I didn't want to talk about it as an Ohio State fan, but I would not be a good podcast host if I didn't mention this stat after seeing it. So for those of you who might remember, last year on Sunday Night Football, the Texans played the Bears, and after the game, CJ Stroud came up to Caleb Williams. He basically little broed him. He was like, hey, keep it up.
Keep your head up.
Great. Yeah, keep your head up. Totally little broed him, even though they're like basically the same age. Ever since that moment, CJ Stroud, 3,832 passing yards. Caleb Williams, 3,989. That's better. CJ Stroud, 19 touchdowns. Caleb Williams, 27 touchdowns. CJ Stroud, 15 interceptions. Caleb Williams, 5 interceptions. Since that moment, Caleb Williams has been a superior quarterback to CJ Stroud, and it hurts my heart to say that. But Jaevon, that's your guy as the Bears beat the Cowboys 31-14.
Shaun, one thing, I need you to send me that stat over so I can forward it over to Khalil Alston.
Oh, gotcha.
I did pick the Bears. I don't know if I was the only person to pick the Bears.
I picked the Bears.
Pick them? Okay, so that's good news. Ben Johnson was in his bag early on, and you could see from flea flickers, we got DJ Moore in the backfield. You got reverses going. Roma Dunze is making plays left and right, looking like the guy Luther Burden. A lot of guys are he was a guy 2 years ago that I thought would come out kind of out of this stinker junior year, but or was it senior? I'm not sure, but he was making plays out there. DeAndre Swift was getting involved. Kevin's very familiar with his game. I do think the Bears can go on a little bit. Maybe I think they win 2 games in a row because they got the Bears coming to town. I'm not sure if they're going to Vegas, but I think the Bears can win that game against the Raiders next week. So you could get a little bit of momentum bubbling for Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams. I do think the Raiders are god-awful in their secondary, so a lot of people were running wide open. If you see a lot of the plays that Caleb was making, a lot of wide open guys. But I do think this is a confidence booster for this Bears offense. Caleb Williams could be back, guys. Could be back. But never left the fan club, and sticking to it, Ben Johnson's going to help a lot, but I think the Bears could go on a little bit of a win streak here.
I've got this next one as the Seahawks took care of business against the Saints. They beat them 44-13. Granted, context matters. Seattle was at home where the 49ers had to go on the road to New Orleans and play them with their backup quarterback. But when I saw this final score, I just thought, yep, that's what the 49ers should have done. They should have beat the Saints by at least double digits. But Seahawks took care of business, 44-13, and Seattle, Jaevon, is looking like a pretty good team this year. I'm gritting my teeth saying that. Yeah, apparently
everybody
Seahawks are out.
They beat up on the Saints, you guys.
Also, not the Saints.
The state beat up on Seattle. I mean, they beat up on the Saints.
Well, Seattle also thumped the Steelers in Pittsburgh.
Maybe they're a good team.
Does that mean we think the Steelers are good? I mean, we were not talking about them going 9-8. I mean, Toddy said 10-7, but the rest of the world said 9-8.
Yeah, I said 9-8. I was one of those guys. To me, the Seahawks look impressive. They'd be 3-0 right now if not for Brock Purdy leading that game-winning drive as he was injured. But I just think that the NFC West, and Kevin, I promise this is not a slight on the Eagles, but the NFC West is looking like one of the best divisions in the NFL through 3 games. And that's just record-wise. This is stats over politics. After
You guys all played the Saints, yeah?
No, I think just us and the Seahawks. So
Rams
far.
haven't.
The Cardinals played them.
Or yeah, I'm sorry.
Them.
Oh, you're right.
The
You're
Rams
right.
haven't
Cardinals
played
did play in week 1.
Oh,
So yeah,
man,
the Rams
I wonder why
haven't.
the division looks so good.
Everybody play the Saints.
It's the number 1 pick. Congratulations.
Oh,
I
man.
want to play the Saints.
Whoop up on them.
Well,
you
Kevin,
get
you
the
got me
Saints.
there.
You get the Saints. You get the Saints. They're just giving out wins.
Kevin, you got me there. Touche. If you could close things out for our week 3 recap, Kevin. Speaking about another dub that was just easily handed out, the Chiefs beat the Giants 22-9 on Sunday Night Football. What a barn burner!
Scatterboo's back.
Stable did not say they were against putting in Jackson Dart. So that would be nice to see. Russell Wilson coming off of that game where he was leading the NFL in passing and then put up 6 points. They scored. So 14 points, I believe, 15. Their running backs hurt, so now Cam Scatterboo gets a lot of opportunity. Malik Neighbors went from looking like a top 10 receiver to back to Malik Neighbors. This offense is shit. They need to get rid of. I don't know what it is because we've seen the Chiefs this season look like crap, except when they play the Chiefs or when they play the Giants. So it's like, was this a game where the Chiefs are turning the corner? Or is this a game we sit back and say the Giants are the Giants? We saw last week where they didn't kill them, but they were really excited against the Cowboys. But then we see the next week the Cowboys also let the Bears bend them over. So I don't know how much value that game holds. But the Giants have to figure it out. They're en route for another top 10 pick. So at this rate, you might as well just let Jackson Dart go out there and play. You're not going to play Jameis. So Russ, sit down, mentor him, and we'll see how it plays out.
I do want to add before we
go ahead.
Move along from both sides. Saw a little bit of temper flaring from Travis Kelce and Andy Reid on the sideline. You can see maybe they're just not on the same page. You would think that the Chiefs would pull away a little bit from the Giants just because they're light years ahead of them in pretty much every scale of the game, but kind of let them hang around a little bit. On the flip side, there was the injury. I think it was Tyrone Tracy that got hurt.
Yes, that's his name, Tyrone Tracy.
So Scatterboo, I probably should have been starting from the start. Made a lot of plays. I do want to add that a clip resurfaced about from Malik Neighbors. It was from like a Colts page on Twitter.
Wasn't Daniel Jones.
He said it wasn't the quarterback. He kept saying it's not the quarterback. It's not the quarterback. And DJ is over there balling Indiana Jones and Indianapolis, obviously. So I think that might be a little bit of a shot at Brian Daboll and just maybe his coaching style. And it kind of goes back to when I was talking about how me, you, or Kev could have gotten the Giants head coach job because I know Josh Allen. I was telling Josh Allen.
I know Josh Allen.
So I think Daboll's a solid coach, but I just don't know if his style fits this personnel. Because we literally just saw a week ago, Malik Neighbors put up how many points for fantasy, Kevin? 30-something? Yeah. So, I mean, it's not like he's an ass. It's not like he just forgets how to play football. I just think it's a combination of the coach and the quarterback just not being on the same page. The quarterback is obviously, I believe, we can all say Russell Wilson's washed, but the style of play is not matching what the personnel is providing. So I think Dart can go in there. And you guys I heard the "We Want Dart" chants in the stadium last night, and I think Dart provides a level of excitement with the read option, and he can sling a little bit. I think he's got a little bit of swag. So are we going to – I don't know who the Giants play next week, but we might see Jackson Dart start. Plus, I think Daboll wants to keep his job, and the only way to keep his job is to win games. Got to win games.
Just have a promising young quarterback.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to win games no matter if they had fucking Jalen.
Dart's got to get in there. He's got to show something like, hey, Look what we got. I just need a little bit more time. So, yeah, starting to run out of time fast.
Speaking of running out of time, we got one more segment that we're going to get to quickly here on episode 159 of Stats Over Politics. Shaun Holko alongside Jaevon, Toddy, and Kevin Dent. Guys, last week we ranked the 10 remaining undefeated teams in the NFL. That 10 teams has been whittled down to 6. So now, real quickly, to close out this week's episode, we're just going to give our take, respectively, of who we believe will be the last undefeated team standing in the NFL. So, Kevin, I have a feeling I know who you're going to say, so I'm going to start things off with you. Who do you think will be the last of the 6 unbeatens? And I apologize, Kevin, just for those who may not know who those teams are, I'll just say them quickly. You got the Chargers, 49ers, Colts, Eagles, Bills, and the Buccaneers.
I'm probably going to say the Buffalo Bills because the Eagles play the Buccaneers and the Chargers. So 3 of us all can't be undefeated. So that's going to be a tassel. And then if I'm going to go Bills, if not Bills, it's going to be the Niners. We talked about them having the easiest schedule in the world. So they should be the last undefeated team. Some of us have to play good teams, and some of us get to play Casumas River 4 times a year. So those would be my 2 teams. Of course, I want to say the Eagles, but I'm being realistic. So I would love for us to be the last team undefeated, but like I said, there are some teams like the Bills that get to play in their division that stinks. And then your guys' is easy schedule. So I would go Bills, Niners. But of course, I would love to say Eagles, but I'm not going to come here with my bias hat on, like I'm sure the 2 of you guys are. So.
Hey, I really respect that, and I thought it was great analysis as to why the Eagles will not be that team, because I thought for sure that you were going to go with the Eagles, but that's a great point. Jaevon, how about you? Of those 6 remaining undefeated teams, who's going to be the last one standing?
For those people who are not keen to the Sacramento area, Casumas River College is a community college out here in the Sacramento area. So Kevin is referring to us playing against community colleges. I would like to put on my bias hat as well and say the Niners would be undefeated, the last undefeated team left. But I am worried about who our quarterback is going to be. Is Brock going to play? We have a lot of health concerns, and I get we do have a easier schedule on paper.
The easiest.
But if you look at our schedule, we play teams like the Colts, who are undefeated. We take the Bucks are another really good team. Our division is pretty solid, as Stats Over Politics would say. We have one of the better divisions in football on paper. So I wouldn't say the Niners would be the last remaining unbeaten team. I'm going to go a little bit left here and say the Chargers. I like the personnel that they have on the defensive side of the ball, alongside with, hey, Justin Herbert's really good at football, and he can throw the ball. Kind of last year, you saw them lean a little bit more on the run game, but I think this year they're letting Herbert cook a little bit, and you're seeing that he can win you games with his arm. I don't think anyone was a stranger to that. We all believed their talent was there. But at the same time, their defense, they had a little bit of deficiencies on the defensive side of the ball, and it showed a couple of years ago when they lost 63-10. So when you bring guys in like Jim Harbaugh, and he's notoriously known for coming to a team and just changing them literally their day and night on what their team looks like. And it takes him maybe like a year or so to get the personnel that he really wants, but right away you'll be able to see that they're a better team. So I'm going to go ahead and say the Chargers will probably be the last undefeated team left.
Okay. For a second, I thought I was still muted, and I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't. Kevin, you expected one of us 49ers fans to come on here and say that the 49ers will be the last remaining undefeated team. And you look ahead on the 49ers schedule. Over the next 3 weeks, the 49ers play 3 teams that have winning records, as they play the Jaguars, who are 2-1 next week. Then they play the Rams, who are 2-1. and they play the Buccaneers, who are 3-0. So at least
Easy
by
schedule.
week 6, easy.
I didn't
Peasy.
say that. That's what the NFL said. Don't get mad at me.
It's true.
Okay.
It's true. It's based on last season's
I'm the
records.
messenger, Toddy. Don't shoot me.
But at least by week 6, either the 49ers or the Buccaneers are going to lose. And as Kevin said, the Buccaneers and the Eagles play, the Eagles and the Chargers play. So by process of elimination, the herd is going to be thinned out. I'm here to tell you it's going to be the 49ers, and it's because of that easy cakewalk schedule, like Kevin said. Like Kevin said, like all of us have said, the 49ers have the easiest strength of schedule in the NFL this season. If the 49ers can get through the next 3 weeks undefeated, then I think that they'll get to week 10 before they have their first loss. And week 10 is at home against the Rams. The first matchup against the Rams in week 5 is actually going to be on the road in LA on Thursday night.
Levi South, they call it.
Levi South. It could get kind of funky. And so if the 49ers can get through the next 3 weeks undefeated, even with Mac Jones as the quarterback, or maybe Brock Purdy's able to come back, no Nick Bosa, all I'm saying is if the 49ers, and I'm putting the asterisk on it, if the 49ers can get through the next 3 weeks undefeated, then they will be the last remaining undefeated team, because they'll get past the Bucs, who will suffer their first loss either against the 49ers or the Eagles. And then the 49ers, because after this 3-week stretch, the 49ers have the Falcons, sus. The Texans, extra sus. The Giants, dog shit. So if the 49ers can just get through the next 3 weeks, then Jaevon, they will get to week 10 at 9-0, hopefully, for all of us 49er fans.
Joke's on all of us. It's the Colts.
Right.
It's the Colts. They're going to be the last undefeated team.
Jaevon, I think you just nailed it there, because none of us expected the Colts to be 3-0 to this point, and yet here they are. Indiana Jones, as Grey Wolf was saying, we'll find out whether if Indiana Jones and the Colts are legit. Any closing thoughts, gentlemen, before we get on out of here?
Go Birds.
All right, cool. So let's get straight to the outro then, because if you're enjoying the podcast, make sure to give us 5 stars. We'd really appreciate it. And make sure to give us a like on YouTube. It helps us a lot. Hit subscribe to get notifications when we go live. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Stats Over Politics, and on X at Stats or Politics. And you guys have been tuned into episode number 159 of Stats Over Politics. For my guys, Jaevon Toddy, Kevin Dent, Kaz Johnson, and Gary Singh, I'm your host, Shaun Holko. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week on another episode of Stats Over Politics. Peace.